In linguistics, syntax is the set of rules, principles, and processes that govern the structure of sentences in a given language, specifically word order. The term syntax is also used to refer to the study of such principles and processes. The goal of many syntacticians is to discover the syntactic rules common to all languages. In mathematics, syntax refers to the rules governing the behavior of mathematical systems, such as formal languages used in logic. Etymology. The word syntax comes from ancient Greek, sigma upsilon mu tau alpha chi iota sigma, coordination, which consists of sigma upsilon mu sin, together, and tau alpha chi iota sigma taxis, an ordering, sequencing of subject, verb, and object. A basic feature of a language's syntax is the sequence in which the subject, verb, and object usually appear in sentences. Over 85% of languages usually place the subject first, either in the sequence SVO or the sequence SOV. The other possible sequences are VSO, VOS, OVS, and OSV, the last three of which are rare. Early history. Works on grammar were written long before modern syntax came about. The Estadiere of Panini is often cited as an example of a pre-modern work that approaches the sophistication of a modern syntactic theory. In the West, the school of thought that came to be known as traditional grammar began with the work of Dionysius Thrax. For centuries, work in syntax was dominated by a framework known as Grammaire générale, first expounded in 1660 by Antoine Arnauld in a book of the same title. This system took as its basic premise the assumption that language is a direct reflection of thought processes and therefore there is a single, most natural way to express a thought. However, in the 19th century, with the development of historical comparative linguistics, linguists began to realize the sheer diversity of human language and to question fundamental assumptions about the relationship between language and logic. It became apparent that there was no such thing as the most natural way to express a thought, and therefore logic could no longer be relied upon as a basis for studying the structure of language. The Port Royal Grammar modeled the study of syntax upon that of logic. Syntactic categories were identified with logical ones, and all sentences were analyzed in terms of subject, copula, predicate, initially. This view was adopted even by the early comparative linguists such as Franz Bopp. The central role of syntax within theoretical linguistics became clear only in the 20th century, which could reasonably be called the century of syntactic theory, as far as linguistics is concerned. Modern theories. There are a number of theoretical approaches to the discipline of syntax. One school of thought, founded in the works of Derek Biggerton, sees syntax as a branch of biology, since it conceives of syntax as the study of linguistic knowledge as embodied in the human mind. Other linguists take a more Platonistic view, since they regard syntax to be the study of an abstract, formal system. Yet others consider syntax a taxonomical device to reach broad generalizations across languages. Generative grammar. The hypothesis of generative grammar is that language is a structure of the human mind. The goal of generative grammar is to make a complete model of this inner language. This model could be used to describe all human language and to predict the grammaticality of any given utterance. This approach to language was pioneered by Noam Chomsky. Most generative theories assume that syntax is based upon the constituent structure of sentences. Generative grammars are among the theories that focus primarily on the form of a sentence, rather than its communicative function. Among the many generative theories of linguistics, the Chomskyan theories are transformational grammar, government and binding theory, minimalist program. Other theories that find their origin in the generative paradigm are arc-pair grammar, generalized phrase structure grammar, generative semantics, head-driven phrase structure grammar, lexical functional grammar, nanosyntax, relational grammar, categorial grammar. Categorial grammar is an approach that attributes the syntactic structure not to rules of grammar, but to the properties of the syntactic categories themselves. For example, rather than asserting that sentences are constructed by a rule that combines a noun phrase and a verb phrase, in categorial grammar, such principles are embedded in the category of the head word itself. So the syntactic category for an intransitive verb is a complex formula representing the fact that the verb acts as a function word requiring an NP as an input and produces a sentence-level structure as an output. This complex category is notated as instead of NPS is readers, a category that searches to the left for an NP and outputs a sentence. The category of transitive verb is defined as an element that requires two NPs to form a sentence. This is notated as, which means, a category that searches to the right for an NP, and generates a function which in turn represents a function that searches to the left for an NP and produces a sentence. Tree adjoining grammar is a categorial grammar that adds in partial tree structures to the categories. Dependency grammar is an approach to sentence structure where syntactic units are arranged according to the dependency relation, as opposed to the constituency relation of phrase structure grammars. Dependencies are directed links between words. Some prominent dependency-based theories of syntax are recursive categorical syntax, or algebraic syntax, functional generative description, meaning text theory, operator grammar, word grammar. Lucien Tesnière is widely seen as the father of modern dependency-based theories of syntax and grammar. He argued vehemently against the binary division of the clause into subject and predicate that is associated with the grammars of his day and which remains at the core of most phrase structure grammars. In the place of this division, he positioned the verb as the root of all clause structure. Stochastic, probabilistic grammars, network theories, theoretical approaches to syntax that are based upon probability theory are known as stochastic grammars. One common implementation of such an approach makes use of a neural network or connectionism. Functionalist grammars. Functionalist theories, although focused upon form, are driven by explanation based upon the function of a sentence. Some typical functionalist theories include cognitive grammar, construction grammar, emergent grammar, functional discourse grammar, Prague linguistic circle, role and reference grammar, systemic functional grammar.